everyone, welcome back to youtube.com/Margot Kamaya. So in this episode, since it is March, and March is the month wherein we celebrate Women's Month, we actually celebrated International Women's Day on March 8th, which was just a couple of days ago. But since it is March, I am dedicating this entire episode to Filipina historians, right? So if you take a look back at the history of history, right, mostly it's dominated by male historians. You have Herodotus, who first started it all, right? And so there's a lot of male influences in the way that our history, the world history and even Philippine history has been written. Right, so and just to think that the muse for history, Cleo, is female, so we should be celebrating Filipina historians, female historians, particularly Filipinas. So even if you do Google search for Filipina historians, guess what? Whose names would show up? Still male names, Filipino males. I don't know why, but we will change that. We're going to change this SEO for when someone writes down or types in searches for Filipina historians, it should be the names of the following historians that I will be sharing with you. Right? Enough said, enough introduction. So let's start off with the first Filipina historian, Filipino writer that I would like to share with you. Is one of my favorites, is Doreen Fernandez. Right? So Doreen Fernandez is known as a writer, as a college professor, as a historian, a social and cultural historian, particularly about food. But she also wrote about history for theater, the arts, the drama, right? So there is a lot of depth to Doreen Fernandez, and hopefully I can find more books that she wrote. Unfortunately, she died about 20 years ago, but her legacy still continues. A lot of our new writers, specifically for food writers, they always quote Doreen Fernandez as their inspiration, as their muse. Okay, so we're so lucky that currently there are a lot of available Doreen Fernandez books that's surfacing. This one is Tikim from Anvil, and then Bookmark still has some of her earlier offerings in stock. Right, next up is, let me just check, sorry. Also, one of the authors, writers, historians that I was able to discover through Ateneo Press and the University of the Philippines Press, Patricia May Hurilla. So she specializes in book history, Philippine book history. So this is the first one that I read from her, storybook, all about the history of the book in the Philippines from the Spanish time, to American colonial, and even I think until Japanese time. She wrote something about that. So I bought this. I was able to buy this from Anvil. Okay. And then she also wrote Bibliography of Filipino Novels from 1901 to 2000. This one was from UP Press. Ateneo de Manila. Okay, another one, Tagalog bestsellers of the 20th century. So Tagalog bestsellers, so more about the fiction books. So she annotated, collated all of the information. Right, so that's Patricia May Hurilla. Okay. Next one is Nene Santa Romana Cruz. She has written a lot of anecdotal, social history, and she also has a line of books with for kids, for young readers. So this one is a classic. You know you're Filipino if. I always give this as a gift to to non-Filipinos or even Filipinos who were born outside of the Philippines, like some of my cousins. No, this was a favorite book of mine to give. Normally, typically, if I see a copy being sold, I buy it, no, to keep it, and then I gift it to friends. Okay, this historian is also a recent favorite of mine. I've heard her talk through the Intramuros administration session, no, in one of the IA sessions during the pandemic. Her name is Lorelai D.C. De Viana. So this is her book about Binondo history. And then she also wrote about Walk Manila. Very nice book, full of illustration, you know, a little about, it's like a guide, no? If you want to do a walking tour of Manila, this is the best guide to have. It also contains maps, all drawn and painted. Okay. And then also a recent discovery from University of Santo Tomas Press, Las Casas. Okay. All about Principalia houses of Vigan, Ilocos Sur during the Spanish colonial period by Raquel Florendo. Las Casas Bajo de las Campanas. Okay. I think I featured this in one of my Shopee videos because I bought it through Shopee at the UST Press store. Maria Luisa Camagay is a well-known historian. She has written a lot of histories, no? Originally, one of the first books that she wrote was during the 1970s. Her specialty really is all about Spanish colonial period. Okay. This is about the French consular dispatches on the Philippine Revolution. Okay. Maria Luisa T. Camagay. Next one, also another book haul, no, from the Manila International Book Fair, from the Ateneo Press. This is written by Edna Zapanta Manlapas. Okay, all about our literary matriarchs from 1925-1953. She featured Angela Manalang Gloria, Paz La Torrena, Loreto Parasulit, and Paz Marquez Benitez. Okay, so women writers. A woman historian writing about women writers. How cool is that, no? Okay. This one I found in Fully Booked, all about textiles, Philippine textiles in, for the 19th century, or not just 19th century, but Philippine colonial landscape. Sandra Castro. Ateneo Press, but I bought this in Fully Booked. Next up, okay, another haul from UP Press. Constructing the Filipina, A History of Women's Magazines, 1891 to 2002, right? Georgina Reyes Encanto. So all about women and featured in women's magazines. Oh, this is a rare find from Anvil. So in my Filipiniana book collections club, this is a this is one of the holy grails. Balay Ukit. I bought it from Anvil 2-3 years ago, right? And this is written by Maria Virginia Yap Morales. Maria Virginia Yap Morales. All about Balay Ukit, or engravings, no, house engravings. Okay, so our next one is one of the sought-after Filipina historians because she specializes in religious art. And religious art, particularly during the Spanish era, in religious art or anything about Spanish Philippine history. So this is Esperanza Bunag Gatbonton. So I'm very lucky that I was able to purchase this, no? Carvings in ivory. Yeah. And good price. Okay. Another suggestion that I would have, this is still available in the market, by Vebal, right? More Pinay than we admit. All Filipina historians, all Filipino writers, their essays and articles, no? What are some of the things that they wrote about? Let's say, Filipino Women in Political Engagement by Belinda A. Aquino. You also have Working Women of Manila in the 19th Century by Maria Luisa T. Camagay. Okay. Another is Songs of Ourselves, writings by Filipino Women in English by Edna Zapanta Manlapas, who also wrote Our Literary Matriarchs. So, more Pinay than we admit. Actually, edited by Maria Luisa T. Camagay as well. Right. Our foremost historian for Filipino food right now, Feliz Prudente Santa Maria. So she has written several books. This is the Governor General's Kitchen, Philippine Culinary Vignettes and Period Recipes from 1521 to 1935. And we have Kain Na. Okay. All about food. I also have, I'm still looking for some of her books, no? Because to add to my collection. This one is by accident, yes. I unfortunately was the culprit for the bend. So I can't blame anyone but myself. And then, of course, right, Gilda Cordero Fernando. She's also a social historian writer. Unfortunately, she passed a few months ago. But one distinct characteristic that we have for Miss Fernando is that she was the owner of a publishing house in the 1970s, 80s, and 90s. And they came out with a lot of books, no, about the Philippines. History, social history, cultural history. Right? She's very well known and respected. Okay. And then this, The Theater in Manila. There is a new version of this. Okay. And this is written by Cristina Laconico Buenaventura. Cristina Laconico Buenaventura, The Theater in Manila, A History of Theaters in Manila, 1846 to 1946. Okay, so if you're interested all about the theater history, there's Zarzuela, the Comedia. Okay, how is it? Okay, a book about Francisco V. Coching by Andrea Peterson, okay, also from Vebal Bookstore. Okay. Never realized that I have a lot of books, no, written by Filipino writers and historians. Okay, let's continue. Alright, so our next female historian is Desiree Ann Cua Benepayo. She wrote about Jose Abad Santos, or Honor, the Legacy of Jose Abad Santos. He was the Chief Justice of the Philippines during the outbreak of the war. And then when Manuel L. Quezon and Sergio Osmeña escaped to the U.S. Because he is the third most powerful Filipino in government at the time, he became acting president. But by around May or April or May of 1942, right, he was captured in Cebu and executed by the Japanese in Mindanao, right, because he wouldn't pledge his allegiance to the Japanese imperial government. Okay. Next up is two Cebuano historians and writers. First is Erlinda Quintanar Alburo. So this is her book, Sumad. So what is Sumad? A Cebuano word which means anniversary. So this is a book to commemorate the century of the revolution in Cebu. So Sumad. Okay, Cebuano historian. And another Cebuano historian is Concepcion G. Briones. Right? She wrote about her life in Old Parian, or life in Old Parian. A lot of historians as well, like Rizal Mojares, Michael Coliani, they all refer to her, no? To this book about the Parian history in Cebu, one of the Chinese Chinatowns in the Philippines. And lastly, or not lastly, but we have two, and these are dedicated to none other than Jose Rizal. First one is, I wouldn't say she's really a historian, but she is one of the female translators that I found who translated Rizal's Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo. And her name is, okay, let me double check. So this is from Bookmark, and I recommend these versions of Soledad Lacson Luxin. Okay, Soledad Lacson Luxin, translations of Noli Me Tangere and El Filibusterismo. Because these are, it's very, very easy to read her translation. Okay, easy reading. And finally, we have Indio Bravo. So there's actually two versions of this. I think in one of my videos wherein I shared about Jose Rizal books, there are two versions of Asuncion Lopez Rizal Bantug's book about her lolo Jose. So this one was with Anvil, or sorry, Tahanan Books, and it's entitled Indio Bravo. And then there's also another version, Lolo Jose, with Vebal Bookstore. Okay, so this is by Asuncion Lopez Rizal Bantug with Sylvia Mendez Ventura. Okay. And what's nice about this version is the drawings are by Ben Cobb. So maybe that's another episode, no, of Filipino female artists. So that's it, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this episode of mine. Women power, right? Particularly of Filipinas in Philippine history, right? I you know, just looking at all the books that I shared with you, and I think I still have a lot of titles that I can dig up from. It's just that now I realize that there are indeed a lot of Filipino writers, and it's really Filipino writers and historians that need to be proclaimed, right? So that's what Cleo is. She is the muse of history, and she is known as the proclaimer. So fits the title, no? We have to proclaim women historians because of their contribution to history writing, right? And I hope that you'll be encouraged, to buy the books that I shared, or if you have books of other female writers or historians, kindly drop me a note in the comment section, and I'll see you soon. So stay safe, take care, don't forget to like, subscribe, share the video, and again, I'm open to any comments. So thanks everyone. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.